Hi, Lori, Amy, Mary, Leanne, Luann, Nan, Agnes, Charlene. I love this, Sandra. There's another Sara out there, which is great. Mary Pat. I'm thrilled to have you guys here tonight. We have a great group of women that are joining us that are going to talk about millennials. And I feel like, great, maybe I'll learn something. Maybe I'll learn how to talk to my own children. So I'm really thrilled about this one. We have Myrna Brady, we have Andrea Austin, we have Jessica Maurer, we have Jordana from Talent Hack, and I'm going to pronounce this correctly, Shelberg. Is that correct? I did good. And I think her background is the cleanest. You want to know why? She's in an empty apartment. She just moved. So when she joins the real world, she'll look like the rest of us, taking all our junk from behind us, shoving it behind the camera. But these ladies are wonderful. And we're looking at millennials. We're talking about 23-year-olds to 28-year-olds. Myrna Brady has 25 years of fitness, music, and business experience. She's worked for companies such as Nabisco and Nike and various startups. Jordana Shelberg, she's the head of marketing at Talent Hack. And I want you guys to write it down. And I know Carter's going to put it in the chat box. Wonderful company. Jordana, I don't even know if you know this, but I'm going to be running my yoga class on Talent Hack starting in June. I'm really excited.
News ever.
I know. I teach twice a week and I'm like thrilled because you guys, it works. And that's what I'm excited to. It's a website. Yeah, Myrna does it. Oh, well, she's a rock star. I'm just like this person who's working out of her basement. But Jordana oversees brand strategies, communication, and brand content. She's coached hundreds of talent through Talent Hack to get them up and online and being able to promote themselves, which I think is amazing. Jessica Maurer is a fitness business consultant and strategist. And I don't know if you know this, but she's worked very closely with SCW, assisting with our social media. And she's also on our faculty, helping with a virtual training certification and a social media certification. She also specializes in pregnancy and exercise. Andrea Austin is a rock star on the bike. If you ever want to take a class that's got energy and enthusiasm, and she specializes in dealing with instructors. She's the owner and CEO of Beat Boss, one word, indoor biking and consulting. She's got over 30 years of experience. No, she's not a millennial, but she knows them. So I'm starting with you, Myrna, because I want to know when you started. I know I didn't even ask you this before the camera came on, so just go with me, girlfriend. When you started, how many people were taking your classes online and how many people are taking you now?
So that's a great question, Sarah. And again, thank you guys for having me. And it's a pleasure to be on such an esteemed panel. That's a great question. When the online thing started, right, I really had to be reactive. You know, we were all so comfortable with 70 people, 60 people in our classes, and then boom, we had to pivot. So literally March 16th, the studio I was with shut down. That weekend, I found a Squarespace, sent an email out to all of my social media platforms. And my first class, I probably had 98 people on there. And I was like, this is crazy. You're scrolling through, you're trying to see. And I'm like, for me, that felt so inauthentic. Right? So when we start talking about millennials and we talk about what they want to feel that they're with you, right? They want to feel that you're in the room with them. So I took a different approach than most. I limited my classes. So I said, if I can't fit you on my screen, you're not in my class, right? So I was like, my maximum was 20, and even that felt a little nauseating for me. And the minimum was 1. And so I will tell you, I've capped my classes at 15. I would add classes to my schedule because now they're only 45 minutes, right? So they're abbreviated, they're really succinct, because if we're talking again about that millennial market, new moms, high-level executives, digital nomads that might be taking your class in their closet at work or in their kitchen while the baby's in the playpen. So it has to be something that works. So in the beginning, you know, I would say 50, 60, 98. But when I started looking at quality and soliciting the feedback, or the millennial market won't wait for you to solicit, they'll just tell you. I was like, okay, smaller is better. So that's where I'm at now, 15 at the most.
So you keep it tight. And how did you attract these millennials? What was a key for you to pull in this age group?
Well, one of the thing is I try to, and Andrea, I think you spoke about this too. You know, my mission statement is make fitness a part of your life and love the body that you're in. So right now, the millennial market is going through that transitional phase, right? First baby, you know, freshman, well, adulthood 25, right? At 20, I was a size 4, now I'm a 14. Dude, what happened, right? So they want to know in 6 weeks, I'll be able to give them a plan that's, you can't use the D word, so don't say a diet, something that's going to allow them to fuel themselves to move optimally in space so they can be better at life, right? So what I'm saying basically is marketing it in a way that it feels that it integrates seamlessly into their life and it's accessible and that they can see inroads and not like my waistline smaller. It's, dude, when I go upstairs with my baby, I'm not out of breath anymore. Or when I run outside, I can run for longer distances. So really having goal-based programs that feel accessible and, to use Jordana's word, authentic, organic to who they are, not the aspiration. And with this part of it, I had someone tell me, don't put Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant on a box. They're iconic. Put Alex Toussaint, put Allie Love, someone that I can relate to. So just creating relatable programs, simply showing a picture of me at a size 4 and a size 24. They're like, I'm sold. And that's, I've been that. I've been a size 4 and I've been a size 24. So they can relate that I know the experience and the journey and I'm going to get them there.
I would love to piggyback on that.
Yeah, Jordana, please.
Myrna, that's amazing. And I agree with all of that. I think there's 2 keys here. And these are, you know, learnings from our platform. So Spaces, just to give a little bit more information, Spaces is a digital platform that serves essentially as your home base and your storefront for selling your offerings, your classes, your sessions, anything out there. So it's virtual and in person. And so through that platform, we have a ton of learnings with our different clients. And with the millennial market, I think the 2 things that we've seen that work the best. The first thing is something that we call pre-commits. And so this is a perfect piggyback to what Myrna's saying. Pre-commits are essentially exactly what they sound like. It's getting a group of people to commit ahead of time. And the reason those are so wildly successful for both the trainer and the clients is because they tap into that idea of community, accountability, and commitment. And so as Myrna's saying is that this group is looking for something that we know millennials are extremely dedicated to health and wellness. And so they're looking for their perfect fit. And within that, to the second point, is that in order to have a successful pre-commit program, membership, whatever it is, what have you, you need to know your niche. So I think we started talking about this a little bit before the camera turned on, but millennials is a big statement. You know, that's a big group of people from 23 to just under 40. There's a lot of different groups in that. And so we have an accelerator, it's called 6 Steps to 6 Figures. And in that course, the first thing we talk about is what is your niche? Because if you're trying to talk to someone who's 23 and then a new mom and someone at 40 whose kids, you know, are growing up or in school, those are 3 very different lifestyles, life stages. So with this idea of a pre-commit, it's built for that specific audience. And then that tailors and trickles down into everything else you do. So in terms of your content, if you know your niche is 23 to 25, just graduated college, struggling with their body image, you know, that's their niche. And obviously you build that out, that's what your content becomes. So again, we talked about reels, you know, reels being something that are huge for discoverability. You go in and
what Jordana is talking about is we were talking about, obviously we know that millennials live and die by their phone, just live and die. Like why do a video horizontal? Because then I have to turn my phone. That is horribly rude. I want to keep it up. I want to look at it. Instagram started reels so that the reels are just, they started as 30 seconds. And Jordana, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I think when we talk about ways to attract millennials and organic reach, the biggest thing we're seeing right now that the algorithm, so Instagram loves to push out new stuff and force you to use it. And so what's happening right now with Instagram is Reels is their baby. You know, they're competing with TikTok. And so Reels are prioritized in the algorithm. So what that means is that when you're putting out content through Reels, if you've been on Instagram, you know that you'll have them all over your homepage. And so it helps you discover people that are, for you, and things, products. I spend way too much money on Instagram because they have this down to a science. And so the key is when you're trying to attract millennials, but more specifically your niche, is that you put out content that speaks exactly to that audience, and you do it with different types of tactics, Reels being a really great one for that organic reach.
And what's interesting is I never realized that the whole idea of the reel was based on competing with TikTok.
Yep.
And the reels started to be 30 seconds. And then now they're, as of last week, they're now a minute. And you know what? You know how you find out about this stuff? You just Google Instagram Reel. You can pull up a video and it'll train you exactly how to load them and what they're looking for. Now, Jessica, being the queen of social media, who actually turned us on to Reels, what are your thoughts on a 30-second reel or a full minute reel, and how else can we use these? Do you use them on a website? Do you send a link to them in a text to people? How do you connect and pull these millennials in? Because I don't want, we all want to keep our businesses going. And if I don't attract a younger market in 10 years from now, I'm worried I'm going to lose a lot of my clients. So, and not like they're going to die. I'm just saying, they're going to transition into something else. So how do I attract these millennials? And then how do I keep them happy?
I think that Jordana brought up a great point of pinpointing your target market, but more importantly, pinpointing their pain points. So your reels need to give them answers to what they're Googling at 2 a.m. So what is your target market looking for? And then provide that answer on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube. But making sure that we also make them aware that they can save the material. Saving your reels is a great way that you are going to constantly remind that client that you're there and you're available. The client will then also have trust and credibility and loyalty to your brand because they know that you're providing answers to their specific pain points. And you need to keep auditing that though, because right now the pain point for your millennial demographic may be that they're a first mom, but in 2 years, it's going to be different because they're going to be in toddlerhood. And that's a totally different pain point than a newborn. So you will have to constantly audit and assess what answers you are providing for your clientele, as long as your clientele continues to grow as you continue to grow. Reels is a great way to be able to answer pain points in a quick and an easy manner. What we're seeing from the statistics on the algorithm is that you have about 5 seconds. You have 5 seconds to get someone's attention for them to actually watch the reel. If you don't have it within 5, they're scrolling. And what's interesting in Reels, they're scrolling up instead of what we usually see is the carousel post on the feed. They'll scroll sideways for a while. In Reels, they will just steadily do this. And so you have about 5 seconds to catch their attention. If 5 seconds is your logo loading up or something that's not very interesting, they're going to go right past it. We see a lot of times that people are cross-promoting reels. So they're putting something on Instagram as a reel, they're loading it into their story as well, because there is a demographic on Instagram that find reels to be too much. They find it to be too fast-paced, or they're not interested in listening, and they'd rather still ingest content through stories. So posting a reel, but then also sharing it to your stories is a great way to make sure that you are getting more eyes. Sure, more people are going to be steadily viewing reels, but moving them away from stories is going to take Instagram a little bit of time. Because 2 years ago, they were doing this to stories. They shut down basically Snapchat to start stories, which was their answer to Snapchat. And then they boosted everyone who used stories. They did the same when they went live. Now they're doing reels. There'll be something else that comes out next week. Who knows? That Instagram's like, hey, if you use this, we'll give you all these great coins and all these followers will watch you again. So it's staying up to trend and making sure that you are using your feed in a recycle, reduce, reuse, and repurpose sort of way.
And Jordana, I'm going to ask you something. We were talking about the reels, the videos, because videos just tend to be very active. People tend to like them, whether it's horizontal, whether it's vertical, whether it's 30 seconds, whether it's 1 minute. But you said people really like authentic. And especially millennials, they're not as, and Andrea, I'm seeing you nod. It's like, it doesn't have to be this sophisticated, complicated video. Andrea, what are you finding works to attract for your cycle program, for the Beat Boss program?
Yeah, I think, you know, getting back to what all we're all saying is that authenticity, you know, relatable people, relatable leaders, leaders that are they come in as your friend, you know, versus the hierarchical fitness, you know, phenomenon that is from our past. I think it's so important to have that. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect either. It's amazing. You know, sometimes actually, you know, whether it's reels, stories, or posts, the fact that it's a person telling a story, you know, about themselves versus a slick look is going to get a lot more interaction. And so remember that perfection is actually going to work against you when it comes to social media. You know, if you're worried about what you look like all the time, actually looking less than perfect is better than not, because you're relatable. And so I think getting comfortable with yourself, I think right away that's very important, is get comfortable with yourself as a leader. You know, whether you look great one day or you don't, be real about it. Be like, hey, you know, and you don't even have to draw attention to it. I think the less you draw attention to, oh, I don't look perfect today, you know, actually you don't have to say that. Just be you and post it. Like, just get it out there and test it. Watch to see what people respond to. And I think that's okay to do that. So rather than worrying about, okay, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Just try it. And you're going to see that a lot of times the most relatable is going to get the best responses.
And Myrna, I saw you nodding. So I'm sure that means something.
I'm nodding because, but you know, you talked about stories, Andrea, and it's so true. So, you know, the pandemic taught me and a lot of my colleagues how to be reactive, right? So 30 years ago, I had a bad accident and I lost my front tooth, right? So I was blessed. I had a great surgeon, put it back in. It was great. Literally a week before the world shut down, my tooth decided to say, dude, I'm out. So I'm sitting here going, okay, we have a pandemic, and I'm now what my kids have termed the suburban hillbilly, because I have no front tooth. So I'm like, I can't teach anymore. I'm going to have to take off my screen, whatever. And literally what Andrea said, every single person was like, Myrn, teach like this. We're good. As long as we can hear you. We want your energy. And what it really did for me is, like you said, it took that veil off, because in a past life, as we said, I worked in music and arts. I was a professional opera singer, right? So you're always face deep and you're perfect, and you know, so you don't mess up, right? So for me to walk in and not have the smile, and I was like, how can I do this? And I was like, you know what? So I was walking around still kind of looking like Alvin and the Chipmunks, but they don't care, because what they want is your heart. Right? What they want is to know that you're going to be there, and especially that millennial market, right? What I find, and I think one of us said it earlier, they're committed to the value that you bring to their life. I'm going to repeat that. They're committed to the value that you bring to their life. They might live in a 1-bedroom apartment, barely making rent. But if you bring them a service for 45 minutes that makes them feel something so much better than how they felt before they came to you, they're yours for life, and they'll find the money. So I think it's really important to be as organic and authentic. And the reels should be on digital media, but also the real, right? REAL, like who you are.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I'm laughing because I lost my tooth. Like, no, I'm not kidding. Jessica's laughing because she knows. She knows. I fell about 20 years ago jogging at like 9 o'clock at night in Orlando, Florida. I was at a Zumba convention, and I had enough neon up to here. I was done. I was like, oh, are you going to the party? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, I'll see you there. And there's like 10,000 people wearing neon. I'm like, no, I'm going for a run. I ended up tripping and falling. I lost like 6 teeth. It was like disgusting. I fell 100% on my chin. Anyway, the tooth was gone. And what happens during the during the pandemic? It's like I called the guy and I was like, I haven't seen anybody. I know I don't have COVID. Please, please, can you replace my tooth? And I remember I was doing webinars and I thought all I have to do is like I'll use like that sticky wax. Did you ever try that, Myrna? And you try to stick it on. I figure if I don't move my top lip, it'll stick, it'll stay in place. Anyway, nobody cares about that.
No, you know what's funny, Sarah? We have a bunch of people, and this happens to me everywhere. I was in Cape Cod, and I was talking about it, and my tooth literally fell out. And I'm around like 30 people I don't know, and I'm like, oh, sugar honey iced tea. Literally, everyone started pulling their teeth out. They're like, oh, I'm toothless too. I'm toothless too. So it's like this weird sorority fraternity. And we just got it in the chat. People are like, I lost mine too. So hey, that's
you know, but I will say what this reminds me of is I was teaching the other day on Zoom, of course, through the YMCA that I teach at. And I had a millennial on. She's sitting there, she's really young, and I've got all ages on. But as I'm teaching, I forgot to put the dog upstairs in the bedroom. So the dog comes wandering right in. And what does he do? He goes right in front of the camera. He does a downward dog stretch. And then he lifts up, looks at the camera, and yawns as big as can be. And it's just, you're hysterical laughing. But I think it was, Andrea, you talked about building that community. And Jordana, you talked about the authenticity. And I think that means something. So now, how do I optimize my digital content and social media posts more to reach this? We talked about Reels, that tends to work. Do you feel like, Jordana, do you feel like Instagram is the way to go? What do you think about Facebook? Is there anybody out there on LinkedIn or Twitter? Do you do TikTok? Okay, that question, let's finish this in 45 minutes. The other thing is, I didn't do this at the beginning of this webinar. I apologize because I thought it was more millennials. If you move your mouse and you go to the bottom of your screen, you'll see the green share button. You go over to the left, that's the chat box. You can log in and type in the box. Like Rocky said, my students now ask where my dog is. Okay. So Jordana, I'm going to go back to you, please.
Yeah. So I think there's two things to that question. There's the social media part of it, of optimizing for finding clients. But another interesting point that I want to make before I jump into that is also the way you're offering your actual product. So that's equally important. And if you don't have a seamless experience for them to sign up, pay, a lot of early days in the beginning of the pandemic, there was the Venmoing, my links in the bio, DM me, Venmo. And so for those, it's hard to tell. Can we get like a show of hands now that we know what the chat box is how many of you are individual instructors, who's running studios? It'd be interesting to kind of get a breakdown of who's on here.
Well, it's mostly, we've done this before. It's mostly instructors, group fitness instructors. We get and about 74% group fitness instructors, 60% personal trainers, and about 28% owners and managers. So you can type in the chat box. That'll help.
Cool. Well, we love a woman who knows her stats. Damn, good. Well, anyway, so thinking through, that's even better. If you are a fitness instructor, you're going out on your own for the first time, or even a studio. For this generation, as a mobile first generation, if I can't swipe to your link in your bio, have all your classes, see your schedule, book it in one place, I don't have to put my credit card in every single time. Those are all real barriers to entry. So I think it's really important for us to obviously talk about where you're finding clients and getting your message out there. But I think equally as important is once you've landed those clients, if your experience is not tech enabled, if they're not getting the Zoom link in their email and somewhere else to launch it, and so I say that from a biased perspective of Spaces, but also because we just know it works, is that our feedback from clients when we have trainers that come onto the platform and switch to it is that my clients are so much happier. They don't have to put their credit card in again. It actually increases their revenue because people are able to book more easily. So those are really important things. So the other question about where you're finding people, we know that Instagram really is king and queen right now. And so that's why utilizing the features to win in that demographic. Facebook definitely skews a bit older. So for all of our instructors, especially the ones who are running pre-commits, which are those programs I mentioned, we don't require anything. We always heavily recommend that they also have a community component. And so the one place that we see Facebook being still very valuable is those Facebook groups. So as Myrna's talking about, having any kind of platform where you're congregating people, you're building that community, you're building their connection to you is so important. And so the younger millennial apps tend to lean more towards like a WhatsApp, which is a group chatting. It's basically text-based app. So Facebook is a place that I think still has its merits and value. That's not somewhere that millennials are spending a lot of time these days. And so, maybe the older demographic of millennials, but I think below 35, not at all. So I think if that's a channel that's working for you, and this comes back to the idea that you have to know your niche and you have to know. So if you are targeting a millennial who's an older millennial, go for it. There's no harm in utilizing Facebook. But I think to echo Jessica, you need to have a multi-channel strategy. So these days, it's so important to have a presence on everything. And I know there's a lot of resistance to TikTok, but we have certain creators on our platform who are blowing. So just to give you an idea, TikTok, Instagram is now a heavily regulated paid advertising platform. And so the reason why Reels is so important and so huge is because it's one of the only things left that you can get really big organic reach with. But on the flip side, TikTok has barely, scratched the surface in terms of monetization and advertising. So what that means is it's a way more organic platform. And so that means that you can get on there now, build up a community, build up a following much quicker than you could if you were on Instagram. And so we are seeing a lot of our creators tapping into TikTok. We have an instructor who,
And when you talk about creators, you're talking about your instructors.
Yep. So we call them creators. We usually say talent. We just think there's such a bigger term than, you're an instructor, you're a coach, you're just, so creator is kind of the catch-all, but yes, exactly. So we have fitness instructors who, one I'm thinking in particular, her niche is very niche. It's Broadway lovers. So it's people who are amateur dancers who love Broadway, and her product is all Broadway music. It is as niche as you can get. She has tapped into this world on TikTok. There's this joke on TikTok that, like, I'm on home decor TikTok because that's all I've been looking at lately. So the algorithm changes really quickly to what you're interested in, and it makes it a really powerful discovery tool. So for her, she's developed this niche for Broadway lovers are finding her on TikTok, and it's directly correlating to the people who are then coming up to her link, find it extremely easy to book classes to join her pre-commit, and then they're becoming clients for life. To Myrna's point about once you convert them and you give them that value, they will be loyal. So TikTok is a huge one. I know that it can be intimidating for people, but just go for it. Start playing around. Now is the time.
Yeah. And I love what you said about really streamlining, making sure that it's easy to register, that your credit card's in there, that it's a click. All I keep thinking of is that Amazon-like. One click, it's like, do I want to buy now? It's not a question of, oh, I've got to type this in and I've got to type that in. And I went crazy the other day because for some reason, it's not getting my address. It was pre-populating, but it wasn't reading the pre-population. I was like, oh my gosh, their site is so old. I want to scream. And I know
on that.
Pardon me?
We did some research on that when we first set out to build spaces, and we were tracking. So we actually there's a program where you can see a heat map, and the drop off, when it took more than 3 clicks to sign off, the drop off was over 60%. People don't have, especially millennials, we do not have patience. I will speak for the generation. If I'm not in there, if it's not checkout, does not take me under 3 seconds. Literally, and so that was the number one thing for spaces. The checkout is you never need to put your credit card in.
Checkout's got to be seamless, and they want their questions answered, and they want them answered now.
Yep.
So we put the chat boxes on every single page. And nothing's going to drive people more insane than pre-population of answers. Like, I'm not asking that, you moron. Stop with it, and then I want to pick up the phone and I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. You should be this, it should be live. So we've put chat boxes on every page. And we also picking up to make everything seamless, using programs that people know. Like, people do know Venmo. Like, if you don't have something like Talent Hack, if you haven't done something like that, people know Venmo. Don't pick something all weird. When we selected how we were going to run our conferences, we got to figure out something that is easy. So we went straight to Zoom because we thought, crossed our fingers, and we were lucky that everybody was going to know how to use Zoom. So it was going to be something that was expeditious for people, and it would be a seamless experience. Jessica, what are also some further thoughts on TikTok and Instagram, and how you feel Facebook fits into that?
So I think we have to keep in mind that if Mark Zuckerberg woke up tomorrow and was just pissed off at the world, that social media goes away. So we have to remember that while it's great to build up social media followings, and that's where people are going to find out about our brand, we're going to build brand loyalty there, we have to also get them off of social media to find out more about us. So social media really is a way of dropping a breadcrumb, and then you leave little breadcrumbs that bring them to your website, wherever your website might be. And then that website, again, to everyone's point, should be seamless in terms of the checkout. What we've seen from a lot of studies on millennials is that millennials really like programs. They like 4-week things, 6-week things, 8-week things. They like challenges. They want to know that there is a start and an end date, that they're going to receive this roadmap for the next few weeks. And then when the few weeks are over, if they love it, they can jump right back in, do something similar and be loyal to your brand, or they can pivot and go somewhere else if they were not happy with what they received. So social media is great, whether you're on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. Know what your target demographic is, go after that specific target demographic, and then use social media to entice them to come to your website, because that is where you're going to be able to actually nurture more communication, further establish yourself as the expert. They're not going to buy from you if they don't find that you're the expert. If they don't have trust that you are the person that is going to understand them, lead them on the correct journey, hold their hands and let them know that everything's going to be okay as they do their 700 lunge jump, they're not going to purchase from you. It's brand economics of no trust, no credibility, no purchase. So social media is where you can start to establish that, but your website is really much more important about establishing who you are, what you do, and what you have to offer. Social media is like a dating profile, and your website is actually how you go on a date with someone.
Jessica, I'm jumping in just because I'm so passionate about everything you just said. I couldn't agree more. I think social media is an incredible way it's a calling card. It's showing people a bit of but the issue is that if you don't own those contacts, you don't own it, not even Mark Zuckerberg, if someone hacks into your account and shuts it down, all those followers you have, how do you reach them? How do they reach you? And so I'm just bringing it back because it's really all the stuff that went into developing Spaces, but the product is your CRM, so whether that's an email list for you, Spaces has all of that in it. So we always say, if you're going to be doing a free class, do it through that. Don't have it just be on Instagram Live where they're going to show up and you get nothing from them. We always think about marketing as you're trading currency for value. And in certain situations, it's not money. It could be their email address. And so when you do a free class on Spaces, you get their email address. So as Jessica said, those drip campaigns, those email marketing, which to Sarah's point, also email is not dead at all. Email, if you do it right, email is a very powerful tool. And so that's really huge for Instagram and thinking about social media channels as a necessity for having a presence, but also making sure you have your own owned list, email list, or somewhere that you're capturing all of that.
And Myrna, you were talking about showing a picture almost before and after. And I've always talked about clickbait. Like, what am I going to get them to click on to get them to come in, to convert them and keep them as a client? So what things have worked for you, Myrna?
Well, I mean, there's something that I wanted to piggyback also with the social media, and I'm going to come right into what you're talking about. We also have to realize that social media has changed, right? So podcasts, but now what does everybody want to be? In the clubhouse, right? So when we started talking about millennials, one of the first thing I did was go to Clubhouse and type in millennials, people 28 to 25, and all of these rooms came up. And I literally felt like a voyeur. I was just sitting there, millennials who love fitness, and seeing what rooms popped up and listening to what they want and where they are. So what I find is there's a lot of millennials in Clubhouse because they don't necessarily even want to do this. They don't want to be on a screen, but they want to be heard. They want to come up on a platform. They want to be viewed. They want to be to share their I don't agree with you, or yes, I do agree with you. So I think that's also something that millennials are driving, and those of us that are marketing to them should really be cognizant of, is going into Clubhouse and taking your niche, and creating a little room and bringing them in, telling your clientele that you're doing a Clubhouse. I was doing a Clubhouse the other day, and I got called up on the stage, and then 3 people came in and they called on them and like, why are you here? Like, because Myrna Brady's here. Anything Myrna Brady does, I'm going to show up. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So what happens is when you start going into these different platforms, people that follow you will follow you into those platforms. So I'm trying not to only stay in the Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter world. If there's something new that comes up, I'm jumping into it. Now, in the old world of marketing, right, Sara, to go back to your other question with clickbait and pictures, they used to say it takes at least 4 to 5 contexts, and you have to develop this consultative relationship with the client and blah, blah, blah. I'm a Gallo baby. I work for E&J Gallo. So we went through this whole training program and how you develop relationships. And then I'm really showing my age. In the beginning of the internet, right, we created the first e-commerce based site for Calvin Klein jeans. And I remember when we were going through that whole process, they laughed at us. Their executive team literally laughed at us. They're like, you're going to create a virtual mall environment for us? People need to touch it and feel it. And we're like, no, we are. So let's talk about what's that experience. Literally walk us through one of your retail stores. And the whole thing is, whenever I think about, if I show someone a picture and I'm saying I was a size 4, I was a size 24, and now I'm somewhere in between, and that's my business. Don't ask grown folk questions that they don't want to answer, okay? But the bottom line is this. In between there, you want to share a story. So what I don't like is when you click a picture and then they give you all this text, and you click another picture and they give you all this text, and then you got to add your email, and then in 90 more days, you'll get another thing for $24.95. I don't know if you've seen those emails. Keep it simple. This was my issue. Graduated college, I was a size 4. I got married, I had a baby, I was a size 24. Life happened. Email me, let's have a conversation. It's that simple, right? Let's have a conversation. I'm not selling you on fitness. I'm not selling you on anything. I'm trying to talk to you about making fitness a part of your life. And that's how the conversation started for me. So that's what works.
And Andrea, what do you feel, or what do you see as, let's say, fitness trends for this demographic?
Yeah, I just kind of want to just say something quick about what Myrna is saying. I think that it's really important to have that automated sign up, that really easy sign up. But there's also something to be said with the option of having that conversation with the leaders. And so making sure that you have both of those options, because there are people that they don't want to talk to you. They want to sign up, they want to get going. And that's okay to have that option. But there's actually a lot of people, as Myrna is talking about, that want to connect. They want to ask you questions. They want to know that you're actually there texting them. What is your name? It depends on, of course, how big the company is and such. And having that conversation with them. And a lot of times that's when they will sign up, because it comes back to that personal connection. It comes back to that relating, that this person understands, my fears even. I'm afraid to do this. What do I do? Do I have to be this? No, you don't. And so I think it's really important to have both options. you know, whether you're an instructor, whether you're a business owner, you have those options of automation, but you have also the options of, do you want to talk to me? Here's where you're going to have that contact. I'm also seeing someone asking here the question about how do you keep them without losing your older participants when you use music they might like. I'm just going to answer that really quickly. And I think that, Rocky, you're talking about classes. Is that correct? Instructing classes, probably. Mm-hmm. You know, I just kind of have a rule of thumb that it's really important to choose, be diverse in your music selection. Okay. Even if you think that young people like hip hop only, that's actually not true. A lot of them like the 80s. A lot of younger people, the millennials, love the 80s. And so, and even if you do like palate cleanser songs, you know, something in the jazz department, they're going to be exposed to things that maybe they've never been exposed to. And you actually might turn them on to something they never thought they could be turned on to. So I think, Rocky, making sure that you have a variety of music in your playlist. And I think that's maybe what you're asking. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, I see yes. All right, so not just doing EDM for the whole 60 minutes, 45 or 30 minutes, or all hip hop. You know, put those palate cleansers in and they will love it, love it. All right, so Sara, what were you asking me?
I have to repeat that, Andrea. I think that's great. The palate cleansers. Like, you know, when you go out to a really like la-di-da dinner and they give you this little, you know, pineapple sorbet, or, you know, one spoonful of it to cleanse your palate before you go to the next course. And those are the songs you're saying, throw these things in there. And I think that also enhances that it becomes an experience. Rather than, this is my workout. No, the choice is, this is my experience. I've chosen to use my valuable time to engage in. So I like that palate cleanser. Thank you. It. Yeah. And what other things do you do with the programs besides the music changes? Have you done any themed programs? Does that seem to work? What are some other experiential programming that they enjoy?
Yeah, and I think, again, it comes down to the theme that we're talking about with millennials is creating community, creating relationships, connecting. And whatever you can do to do that. So whether it's themed rides, birthday rides, you know, baby shower rides, getting married rides, it's really about the lifestyle connecting. And really fitness is just a tool for that. So rather than thinking fitness is my primary goal, relationship building and creating community is the primary goal. And fitness is a tool for that. And so kind of flip-flopping, you know, originally we used to think, well, fitness is the primary and then community. It's actually the other way around with the millennials.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. How, Jessica, are we going to transition from a completely virtual environment to now we're going to have live classes? And how are we going to make this happen? Do we need to make this happen? Should I just say, fine, I'm just going to continue my yoga class online? Or how am I going to use this? And I'm also going to squeak in here, I know it's not on the piece of paper we all talked about, like outdoor programming. What do you think? What do they think of that? Well, how are we going to use it?
So I think that there are different radio stations for a reason. People want to ingest their entertainment and their community in a different way. Fitness is the same thing. We were already working up to expanding the fitness industry prior to COVID. There were already online availability. There were already fitness programs that were completely digital, completely virtual, as well as live and outdoor. COVID just sped everything up to be in the forefront. And it's not going to just suddenly go away when people come back outside of their houses. We need to realize that jeans fit people a different way. That's why there's so many different brands, styles, and colors. Fitness fits people in different ways. That's why there's so many different places, instructors, and programs. What's really interesting about millennials is that you'll notice they have memberships to multiple places. They go to HIIT studios, they go to yoga studios, they have massage places that they go to, they do the YMCA and the Gold Ship. They have multiple memberships because they're not just loyal to one. They like to do different things and ingest their fitness in different ways. And we need to know that we are all complementary. We all work together as a team. We're one team as fitness professionals. We are not each other's competition. Lazy boys are competition. That's who we need to be working out against, and come together to say, you know what, if you don't feel comfortable coming to my live class, that's okay, because I know Sara's teaching yoga virtually. Go join her Fridays at 9 a.m. When you're ready to come back, join me in the park on Saturdays with your stroller and your kid at 10 a.m. And we know that millennials will probably jump and hop and skip around. And Monday they'll do something virtual, and Tuesday they'll come to a park, and Wednesday they'll go into a gym, and they'll hop around based on what they feel like ingesting or wearing that specific day. So be open to it.
Yeah, I really like that. All right, guys, I'm going to end this webinar. I can't even believe this happens all the time. We're already out of time, but I'm going to share this video with you guys. If you would, enjoy. Wonderful. So thank you guys for joining us. I'd love to see you come to Livestream Mania Express, because we listen to you. Everybody's getting zoomed out. We've made the classes not an hour and 15 minutes each, but an hour each. Condensed it down, only 15 minutes between each session. It cuts a good hour out of the day, but we still have over 110 sessions. So you get the same education for less time, less money. Okay, guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Myrna. Thank you, Jordana. On fire. Really appreciate it. And thank all of you for joining us. Mary, Agnes, Rocky's always here. Jill, Amanda. I see Alex McLean, who's going to be one of our presenters at Livestream. Very cool. So thank you all. Have a great night. And thank you, Carter, for doing a fabulous job running this webinar. You herded us cats very efficiently. So have a good night, everybody.